So we're getting to some of the problems with 27-inch Grande lava lamps today, and I figured the best way to show that is I buy a lot of them. Um, Most people watching this know that I buy and refurbish Grandes and I sell them. I don't make a ton of money doing it, but I enjoy doing it, and yeah, it's what I do in a lot of my free time. And I figured one of the best ways to do it was I have 6 next to me that are brand new in the box. I haven't opened them yet, so I'm kind of taking a gamble doing this because maybe I'll get 6 that are in really good shape and don't need work at all, which is not going to happen. I kind of wish these were flowing behind me, but just going to do them. And hopefully these will get going while I'm opening these along. Probably not. I don't think they're. No, probably not, but that's all right. The other big thing is I'm going within the next couple of weeks. I'm going to be doing a video making wax. Um, it's not the reason I've stayed away from it for as long as I have is because typically when I make my wax, I'll make a batch and kind of just throw in what I need to do, and I'm not super precise about the measurements, and then I'll put it in and adjust it to where it needs to be and how it functions. I'm trying to figure out more of a recipe I can make telling you exactly what goes into it to have a nice functioning wax to begin with. So within a few weeks, I'm going to show you how to make wax from scratch, just, buying paraffin and other chemicals and putting them together and making a wax that you can use in grandes or you can use in 32-ounce globes or 52-ounce globes or anything in between. It's probably going to ruffle some feathers, but uh, who am I kidding? Nobody watches this. But that's the biggest thing is people talking about how to make wax. So I'm gonna show you how to make wax strictly from buying wax on the internet or in a craft store and adding the appropriate chemicals to it, so you don't need to buy it from one of the suppliers if that's something that you're trying to avoid or you're trying to save some money like that. But get into this. So, like I said, I got 6 brand new Grandes next to me. I haven't opened yet. I think I have 30 in my crawl space downstairs, but whenever I can get cheap ones, cheaper than the standard $180 or whatever that shilling charges at the Lava Lamp website, I try to get as many as I can while they're available. So I'm just adding another 6 the other day to my stockpile that I have, and show you some of the problems that you get when you get them out of the box and what you can be expecting typically when you buy a new Grande. Because the thing about Grandes is the lamp itself is awesome. I mean, you get the base is solid, the electrical components of it are solid, incredibly simple, but they're fine. The glass is nice, the caps are the whole thing's nice. The only thing is typically when you open the box and the way that they come in, their quality control at Lava Lamp for the contents of their lamp is terrible. Um, and we'll show you some of the problems with it. So if you're going to invest this kind of money, expect that more likely than not, you will have issues when you open your lamp. So it's something that you have to either accept or be willing to fix. And that's the problem with buying one at retail because, like I said, I think they're $180 from Lava Lamp's website. And for them to sell a product for $180 and not have a great product when you open it is unacceptable. But like I said, that's why I buy them when I can get them at a discount. Uh, so yeah, we'll get into it. I'll just keep talking about other things while I'm doing this, but we'll do the first one. I'm gonna open this first one and I'll pull out the base. Then I don't know, I might pull out all the bases. I might just pull out the globes. Just I don't know. We'll see as we go along. I ordered a couple of different. I think there's 2 different colors in here. I think I went with because realistically, unless you order one of like the customs from Lava Lamp, the only 2 colors of wax that you can really get from them are pink or yellow. You can get some of their, I think some of their other customs have red as an option. but it's going to cost you a little bit more money. So most of the time that I open these things, I'm dealing with a starter wax if I'm using the wax that's in the lamps, which I do probably more often than not. Sometimes I make my own. All depends. But just threw the instructions all over the ground. But typically, when you open one of these, first thing on the top is you got the base. Got a pile of instructions kicking around somewhere in there. The base is in a plastic bag, like so. And 90% of the time, this one included, some of the styrofoam from the packaging breaks off and gets in the base. So before you want to run the lamp, you want to get all that broken styrofoam out of the base so it doesn't burn or melt or create napalm and cause other problems when you do run the thing. This one's not bad, but another thing, the bases are usually pretty nice, but a lot of the times you'll open these and the receiver for the bulb is a little off center. What I usually do is just reach in, grab the post underneath it, and gently kind of give it a push over to more where it needs to be to get it center. But anyways, so base looks nice as they usually do. Caps usually in caps usually in bubble wrap, floating around somewhere in there too, next to the base. And under that, there's going to be a styrofoam insert. Yep. Don't just throw the styrofoam insert away because your bulb is in it. Take out the styrofoam insert like this. Bulb's in the base here. And what I usually do is while your lamp's unplugged, because I've done this before, I've had the base plugged in, the bulb is turned on and then melted the plastic, because you don't generally want to touch the glass whenever you can avoid it, because it gets the oils from your fingers on it. The oils can heat up and it can break your bulb. These bulbs they're not a fortune, but they're not cheap either. So I take the bubble wrap usually that it's wrapped in, and I use that to screw in the bulb. All right. Little plastic cap usually on the tines for the plug. And that's working fine. All right, the important part. The globe. Let's see. This one is, you can usually tell from the box. I think this is a blue and yellow. Yep. And as usual, it's a piece of crap. We'll see how many out of the 6 are terrible, but this is terrible. It doesn't look like there's any wax really sticking to the inside of this one, but typically when you buy a new one, you can't see that anyways, because I don't think that they ever run these lamps before they sell them. So usually if you are going to have a globe that's not properly treated during production, and the wax is going to stick, you're not going to find that out until after it runs. But this one's terrible. I mean, you can't look at it. It looks like a swamp in there. I've seen a lot worse. I've seen a lot better. But so that's the first one out of 6 is pretty bad. So try another one. Number 2. I'll leave this on, and I guess I can try to keep all the bases out and line up a lineup of probably all bad lamps. And so, if you buy one of these and you reach out to Schilling and you say, look, This lamp is awful. What can I do about it? What they're going to do is they're going to tell you to cycle it. In some cases, some rare cases, this might work. And the whole cycling thing used to work. This is a pink and purple one, so it's the other color that I ordered. Cycling typically works very well if you receive a vintage lamp and if clouded during shipping to some extent. I mean, with vintage lamps too, there's lamps that are definitely past the point where you can do everything with cycling as well. But generally, vintage lamps are friendlier, trying to get them to clear up from the shipping process than the modern stuff. And this base actually has a couple of dings in it, so this is going to get turned into one of my testing bases. But yeah, actually, yeah. I don't know if you can see it or not. This lamp's got a couple of dings. Base got a couple of dings in it. But oops, and I almost got a couple more dings in it. But I can just use that as one of the bases that I test globes on all the time, so I'm not going to make a big deal about it. But that's not usually the problem I have when I buy these things. But maybe I'll message the original seller and see if I can get a couple bucks off from that. But I'm honestly probably not going to. Gap's fine. Make sure you can even see what I'm doing. Yeah. Okay. So move that over a little bit. Styrofoam out. Bulb out. Essentially, I'm not going to take the bulb out. I don't need to explain why, but so this is a pink and purple, and it's awful. Yeah. So this is going exactly how I figured it would. Yeah, that's terrible. Okay. This one is actually worse than the first one. That is also looks like a swamp. So that's 2 out of 6 are absolutely terrible. And these lamps have never been opened. They're brand new out of the box. This is what Schilling charges you 180 bucks for, plus shipping. All right, on to 3. This looks like another pink and purple. The boxes kind of have a little bit of color on top of them, and you can usually tell what they are before you get into them. And if you do receive a lamp like this and fixing it instead of dealing with Schilling's or Lava Lamps customer control, you can go back and use my original video on repairing these to get your lamp looking awesome. But that's kind of not what this is about. This video today is more about just saying, hey, this is how bad the quality control has gotten with this company. This base is good. Let's see for number 3. Well, cap first. And if this happens to you and repairing your lamp is not something you want to do, and I don't blame you, because if you buy a brand new product for a premium from a company and it comes in and it's not what it's advertised as, well, you shouldn't have to modify it. I don't care when I buy them because I'm literally buying them to modify them. But you shouldn't have to. And this one's terrible too. Probably not actually as bad as the first two, but just pretty close. Yeah, that's awful. This one's probably the worst out of the three so far, but they're all bad. So that's 3 out of 6 that are absolutely terrible. And so if you do contact Schilling, if you buy one of these lamps, and they tell you you're going to have to play ball with them for a little bit, because I think the last one I bought that I did put up a stink about, which was years ago, was a yellow fluid red wax. That's before I got really into the only doing clear lamps, and a custom red base, and I think it was like $190 for the thing, and it came in and it looked like mud. And I messaged them, and they said, "Oh, you got to filter it. Not filter it. Sorry. Oh, you have to cycle the thing." Which generally cycling applies that you turn it on, run it for 8 hours, let it completely cool. Turn it back on, run it for 8 hours, let it completely cool, and do that over a couple of weeks. And they'll tell you, "Oh, it'll clear up." 95% of the time, it's not going to. If you have one that has like a little bit of cloudiness to it, sometimes it will, but most often than not, it's not going to do anything running those cycles. If you stay on them, they generally will make it right to some extent. I remember that lamp I actually made out pretty well with, because they just gave me a refund and I got to keep the lamp, and then that's one of the lamps I got to modify, and I got to keep it free, and I got a cool metallic red base out of it too, plus a globe that I don't even remember what I did with that lamp for modifications. But that worked out great. From what I hear now, it's either be happy with what you got or send it back and we'll give you a refund. I mean, so technically they still stand by your products, but they do sometimes offer you, "Oh, send it back, we'll send you another one." But it's not like they open the thing and look at it and make sure it's a good one first, because overwhelming majority of people that I hear that have sent them back for another get another one that's just as bad or worse. And then if they send that back for another, they get another one that's just as bad or worse. The thing about Schilling is if you do get a lamp that's bad from them, stay on them. Keep messaging and saying the cycling is not doing anything, and eventually they will make it right to some extent, but they're going to try not to before they do. So anyways, let's get on to another one. Number 4, sorry. This is another blue fluid yellow wax. And I know I've said before, but the problem with these, when you see this awful clouding, especially right away, I mean, every lamp's going to have issues over, if you have the thing for 10 years, you run it all the time, every lamp's going to have its problems. But when they come in new, this should never be an issue. And all it is they're using poor quality chemicals or poor quality, not true distilled water. They're using water with impurities in it. And they're just literally trying to squeeze pennies in the production. And instead, I'm sure it's causing them more problems than I would imagine it being worth, seeing as I'm also a guy that sells lamps. I want everything I make to go out perfect, so I don't have to give refunds or accept returns or have stuff come back to me for modifications. I want everything to go out, and then I never have to worry about it again, other than occasionally seeing people reach out to me and message me and say, "Hey, I love this thing." I mean, that I'm always happy to hear. But I don't understand why they don't get it together, especially with how many people want one of these Grandes and how often the people that buy them are disappointed with the product. And I just realized I'm not wearing a Misfit shirt, so apologies to anybody who cares about that. Base and cap on this one are good. All right. Globe is bad. This one's might be the best out of the 4 so far, and it's still terrible. It is. Yep. This is probably the best one we've seen so far, but it's still awful and inexcusable and an embarrassment to their company. If that's the best out of the 4 we've seen so far, that is a problem. Somebody's saying hi to me outside. Somebody's saying hi to me again. And again. So between these two, which this is actually something new I don't think I've ever seen before. This has a spot of, oh no, it's just a piece of plastic packaging. I thought it was wax for a minute. I'm like, that's pretty sloppy. But, so, that's 4. These 2 are the worst. These 2 were, this one's probably the best out of the 4 so far, which again is very embarrassing for that company because this is terrible and it's the best so far. So put this junk away into this one and we'll move on to number 5. And I'll put these all, I just don't feel like taking out all the bulbs right now because when I repair a lamp, I generally use a base I have set aside that has some damage or something to test the globes. And then once I sell it or move on from it, I package it in one of these boxes with the original base that came with that globe. And I never even take that base out and run it before it goes. I mean, I usually make sure, take my multimeter and make sure that the power is correct and everything. So I'm not selling a base that has any problems. But I'm not going to put all these globes with a light on them. What I'll do afterwards, such I'll turn this off for now, is I'll move them all over onto a base that I have running. So you can see what all of them look like lit up, but they're not going to look any better. I promise you that. All right, so number 5. Wow, just realized how messed up this box is. Impressive. I don't think that was shilling that screwed this box up. I think it was USPS or whoever brought this, but still. I mean, geez, I don't know what they did to this thing. Yeah, that's scary. All right. This is what, the last? Yeah, last yellow and blue, which if you look at these lamps, it's one of the ones I've done before. You've seen it. They kind of look blue and green when you run them because yellow, when it filters through when it goes through a blue filter, is going to add a green tint to it. But all it is yellow wax with a blue fluid. So, can we get a good one out of the 6? Oh, this base is destroyed. All right. So this one I'm going to need to go talk to the seller. This base is destroyed. I've actually never had this big of a problem with one before, but yeah, that base is destroyed. So either way, box was messed up, base was destroyed. That's probably a shipping thing, not a lava light thing or a lava lamp thing, but still. Cap is okay. Bulb is fun. One piece still. Okay. And oh, the best out of the 6, and it's still bad. So it's probably the clearest out of the 5 we've opened so far. Maybe this one. It's still bad. Still bad. It's 5 for 6 are unacceptable products. I mean, that one, like I said, I have to deal with the company I bought them from because of the base. But so, can we go for 6 out of 6 terrible Grande lamps? Kind of surprised. As usual, I was thinking I'd get one that looked pretty good, and that is definitely not the case. So, let's see if it's all 6. Put this stuff away so I'm not making a pile of stuff. Number 6 of 6. And when people tell you these are hard to ship and they cloud during shipping, that's an excuse. I ship them all the time, and things happen sometimes, but not like this. This is just bad quality control, bad materials, bad ingredients, bad chemicals, and then shipping combined with it. Do I think that these looked like this when they put them together in the factory? No, I don't. But what the hell? Oh, this cap. It's something else I've never seen. This cap is bent out of whack on this one. It doesn't look like it was dropped, because I mean it would have broken, but the cover's fine. But it won't sit flush on this cap because the cap is it looks like it's rounded over, like it gained a bunch of pressure and bulbed out. No, okay, just one more problem. It's always new things with these guys. So all right, number 6. Give me a good one so I can say you did. At least the base isn't caved in on this one. All right. And why this, like I said before, this doesn't, getting a shipment like this doesn't personally bother me on a terms of functionality because I don't run any of these lamps. I immediately dump out the contents of them and I make new master fluid. That's the first thing I do. I very rarely only do that. Occasionally someone says, hey, I just want a yellow lamp. And I'm like, okay, I just want a yellow wax with clear fluid or yellow wax with some other colored fluid. And I'll go, okay. And like I said a million times, I don't usually do custom lamps. And if somebody asks me for a lamp with yellow wax or a lamp with pink wax, I'm like, okay, that's fine, because all I need to do is dump one of these, make new master fluid, and seal it back up. And that's actually one of those things that if you see a Grande on eBay or anything else that somebody says it's a custom Grande with pink fluid, with pink wax and clear fluid, or yellow wax and clear fluid, all they did was take my Grande video, or no, there's a chance they could have known how to do it before that. I'm not going to pretend I showed a lot of people brand new things that they didn't know how to do. All they did was pour out this fluid, pour in new fluid, and cap it, and then mark it up hundreds of dollars. Do not buy. I mean, sometimes I've sold pink ones before that I've done modifications of the colors, made them hot pink, different things like that. But if you see, generally, if you see a clear fluid, yellow wax, Clear fluid, pink wax. They just took one of my videos or learned to do it themselves, dumped this out, poured new fluid in, which is an incredibly cheap process, and are trying to sell you a very stock lamp for twice, 3, 4 times as much as what you could do it yourself for. So don't buy one. Number 6. Probably the best. Still terrible. Maybe not the best. I think that one's the best. So that is 6 new in the box 27-inch Grande lava lamps, and they're all junk. Which, like I said before, sucks because the lamp itself is awesome. The glass is always really good quality. The wax is generally pretty good quality too. All components of it are good quality stuff, but until they get their fluid right, this is awful. I mean, this here, if I bought them full price, would have been all in probably around $1,200. I mean, I didn't buy them full price, but I'm still in almost $800 for these 3 lamps. And like I said, I don't care because of that for me personally, because I'm modifying all these lamps. I didn't buy them, see that they're bad, and decided, oh, they're bad, I'm going to modify them because of that. No, I'm modifying them because that's what I do with these lamps. But if I bought 1 or 2 or 3 of these for my own personal collection, I wasn't into adjusting lamps, or I wasn't committed to modifying and opening lamps, I would be pissed off. And there's a very good reason for that. This is awful. Like I said, just to show you. So this is the first one we opened. Right here. So you know what? We're going to do this. We're going to switch this base around. We're going to put this here so you get a better view of them. So this is the first one we did. That's awful. Who wants this in their house looking like that? That looks like you put a light at the bottom of the swamp. And the other thing is, comical side note, when lamps are functioning how they are, there's always a part of you that goes, that looks delicious. I'm going to drink that. You shouldn't, but at the same time, that is disgusting. That's the first one. Second one we looked at. Terrible. Who wants that in their collection? These Grandes are literally made to be a statement piece of most people's collection. Most people that have lava lamps are not psychopaths like me and the other people that watch these videos that have 75 lamps, 80 lamps, 200 lamps. They have everything. They have the vintage collections, weird modern stuff, weird things that were made by obscure companies that went under. I know a couple of guys that just got 6-foot goo lamps that I've been talking with, both good dudes. But we're not normal people. But the normal people that buy these have 3 or 4 small lava lamps, and they want something that really makes a statement. And they're going to invest this kind of money in it, and this is what you get. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing to the company. Number 3, like I said, this is probably the best. Which again, if this is the best, that's not good. And actually, this one, yeah, what do you know? Already has wax sticking to the inside. So there's another problem that they have. That means that this globe is not treated properly when they did it originally. Plus, this is the one that has the cap that doesn't sit flush because this thing is not flat anymore. So this one has sticky wax and cloudy wax. And I was previously saying this was probably the best out of the 6 as far as clarity, and it's still terrible. And I get a lot of people when I've posted in forums and things before going, got another Grande, look at this thing. Well, I'd be happy to have that. It's like, Yeah, but would you be happy to have that if you paid $180 for it? And it's not a. It's the whole point. You spend that kind of money on something, and they Schilling tries to make that like they're the lava lamp company, like, and it's an insult to the previous production that companies have made, especially Lava Light in Chicago, which I know I've said things about them before. They're not as great as ever said. They were when they left the factory. They always made a good product when they left the factory. The only problems I have with them now is people put them on a pedestal and they think that anything vintage is great, and it's not, because it's been run. Most of them have been run for a very long time and have now have problems with things breaking down in them. But besides, when Lava Light in Chicago made stuff, when it left the factory, it was phenomenal. Their quality control was just American ingenuity, and an insult to that, because they try to show themselves like they're the same company that's always made them, which is honestly good marketing to do that. But this is what you make. This never would have come out of Chicago. Anyways, this is probably one of the ones that wasn't too bad out of the six. Yeah, but it's still bad. It's still bad. And none of these, it's just gross. None of these would cycle to clarity out of these six. Like I said earlier, sometimes you see one that uh, barely has a tint to it, and you can get it to cycle to clarity after a week or two. None of these would do that. So if you have a lamp that you get from Schilling that looks anything like these six, get your money back, get a refund, get a replacement, and hope you get a better one. These are not going to get better if your lamp looks anything like these six. They're not going to clear up. Maybe if it was half as foggy as one of these, you could get it to cycle up to be something presentable. But and I don't. People always message me and say, "Hey, I just got a lamp from Lava Lamp. I bought it from Schilling, and it's cloudy. How do I filter it?" I'm like, "You sure you want to?" Or how do I make new fluid? And it's like, I'll tell you. I'll point you in the right direction. I'll get you there, but you just spent 180 bucks. Do you want to have to modify a product you just spent that kind of money for? And I would think the answer would be no. But I mean, hey, if that is what you want to do, I'll be happy to show you how. But this one, they're all terrible. And this yellow wax, especially the pink and purple ones, when you run them when they're foggy, they they look bad, but they don't nearly look as bad as these when you run them. I mean, these, like I said 3 times before, it looks like a swamp. You get like a green, yellowish, hazy tinge to it. It's just disgusting looking. Like I said, I'll always show you how to fix the things if that's what you want to do. But this is more about just pointing out the problems with their quality control. At least it doesn't look like there's any wax already. Oh, there is. There's wax sticking in this one too, on the backside. I don't know if you're gonna be able to see that from there, but oh, you can see it here. Yeah, big line here. It's just them being sloppy, them being lazy. And it's not like it's them being sloppy and lazy either, because I mean, Schilling, I think, is based out of North Attleboro, Massachusetts. Shout out to my home state. I guess this video is definitely not a shout out to my home state, but they don't make them in Massachusetts. Obviously, I mean, they're getting these produced in China, and they're sending out orders for them to make, whether it be 100,000 at a time, whatever they're ordering, and they're not. They're either telling the people in China to do it for cheaper, and the people in China are cutting corners because they're being told to do things cheaper, to provide them cheaper for them in greater numbers, or they're not sending representatives from their company to their manufacturing in China enough to inspect the process. And I would think they would at this point, because I know the last looks awful. This has wax sticking too. So, but the thing about Grandes too is Lava Lamp usually shuts down sales through them of Grandes from right after Christmas to the beginning to midpoint of April, whenever the temperature gets back up, because shipping these in incredibly cold temperatures is asking for a problem. Mostly because vintage lamps had glycerin or propylene glycol or both in them, and additional chemicals in the wax, which that's a separate thing. But propylene glycol and glycerin are effectively antifreezes. Um, so you could ship them unless it was incredibly cold. You wouldn't have the lamp, the interior, the contents of the interior of the lamp freezing and then causing problems and cracking the glass and things like that. But Schilling will generally not send one of these out for about 6 months out of the year. And during that time, the secondary market goes insane because people seem to think that they're not making them anymore and they need to get one. So the eBay market goes completely nuts. And like I said before, people pay a lot of money for my lamps, but I start all my auctions at $49.99, and whatever people decide to pay from there is up to them. But I mean, generally during that period of time in the winter when you can't get these from Schilling, I usually see people selling stock lamps like I just bought here for four, five, $600. Never pay that for a stock lamp ever. It's insane. Sometime during the year they'll start producing them again, and you'll be able to get them for somewhere between 120 to 180. Occasionally, it hasn't happened for a couple of years. I remember Amazon got their hands on a bunch of them, and or a seller on Amazon got their hands on them. I think it was a couple thousand of them, and they were all pink and purple, but they had them for like $66.99, I think $62.99, something like that. Knowing what I do now, with the level of what I do now, I should have bought hundreds of them, and I didn't. I bought probably 8 or 9, but never spend. And if you want one of my customs, I'm not going to tell you not to spend whatever you want. Spend as much as you want, but never spend more than $200 on a stock grande. And if you do spend $200 on a stock grande and one of their cooler based customs that they have on the Lava Lamp website, do not stand by any of this. And if they tell you to keep cycling it, tell them you're unhappy. Tell them you want a refund. Tell them you want a replacement lamp. Never be content with something that looks like this. It's not going to clear up. It might get a little better, but it's never going to be the lamp that you expected or the lamp that you wanted. Oh, yeah, the other thing. I see all the time. Well, I can't wait. I mean, Lava Lamp will make a Colossus again. I'm going to buy one then. Lava Lamp will never make the Colossus again. Sucks to hear. That lamp will never be produced again. There's a lot of reasons for that. Liability, for one. I know they had problems with those globes years after they made them. I know of 2, possibly 3, that cracked and made a mess in people's houses and sprayed fluid and wax everywhere. That's one of the issues. The other issue is shipping. Shipping one of those is obviously a nightmare. When it's full, it weighs like 128 pounds, just the globe, and the base has such a possibility of getting hit by something and denting along with the cap. Um, and 3 is if they were to make them now with inflated production prices and things like that, they would be incredibly expensive to buy new. They would not be under. If they made them now for whatever reason, and they're not going to, they will. I bet a lot of money they will never make the Colossus again, unless there's some weird promotional thing where they make a small number of them with a local blower or something. But other than that, they'll never make it again. It's just not worth it for them because if they produce them, say they were to, I can't see them being under $2,500, which I know a ton of people would buy them for $2,500, but honestly, they'd probably be closer to 3 grand. And even at 3 grand, the amount of people that aren't going to be happy with one thing, returns, and then shipping the returns back, then dealing with quality control from that. People aren't just going to hear, okay, cycle it if there's a problem. People are going to spend that kind of money. They're going to want a perfect lamp. And I don't know if Schilling is really capable of mass producing something like that on a perfect level. I don't think they are. And I get that question all the time. Well, do you think they're going to make another batch? No, I do not think Schilling will ever make. I don't think any company other than, I know there's some Chinese production companies that make massive ones for. I think you can get them on like AliExpress, and I've seen pictures of them. They kind of look like the weird tubed rocket lamps, but they're just like this big. And I think they want like $5,200 a piece for them, and you have to order 100 of them, which means they probably haven't made any of them other than one to take a picture with, and they're going to make them if you order them. Uh, large mass-produced lava lamps do not make sense financially for a company. And that gets to my point with these Grandes. That's why I like them. They are the largest lamps you can get readily available that aren't, they're not gargantuan, but they're significantly sized lamps. And I, for years, have been saying that they're probably going to go away. And another thing I know people don't want to hear. Grandes, I would not be surprised within the next 2 to 3 years are discontinued. Lava Lamp wants to sell you the cheapest, most readily available product that they can ship for the cheapest amount and have the least level of returns. And I know that these lamps constantly give them a headache with returns are expensive, initial shipment is expensive, production's probably fairly expensive, and the quality control's off, so they have constant representatives from the company having to deal with people that are unhappy with their lamps. I would be surprised if 27-inch Grandes are still made in 5 years. I'm surprised that they're still made now. That's why I have 40 of them in my house right now. I would have thought they would have been done by now. I think that these are probably more of a headache to Schilling than they want to deal with anymore. I think that if they do stop there will be some sort of Chinese production, but the production of this shape in itself is kind of tricky because technically, Lava Lamp owns that shape, and of course they can change little things and get around that. But I don't think soon Schilling will be making these lamps anymore. They're too much of a hassle for them to deal with, which is too bad because they are awesome when they function. I mean, I wish I had something heated up here, but these two lamps are great, but they're ones I did. Those two are still need tweaking, but there's such a good vessel, such a perfectly sized lamp to make people go, "Oh wow, that's a big one, huh?" That they need to get this right, and that's another thing is I don't think they want to take the time to get this right because I think that at some point they're going to say we got to get this right, and some CEO in the company is going to go, "Well, what's the profit margin on these?" And I guarantee the profit margins of the 16 and change lamps are significantly larger than the profit margins on these, especially when you realize they're probably getting one return for every four that they send out, complaints with everyone that they send out. I would be shocked in 5 years if you can still buy a new one of these from Lava Lamp. All right, I rambled a lot, but try to like and subscribe. It makes me think that people are watching these probably more than they are, but it makes me feel good, and it'll encourage me to keep making them. And like I said, I'm going to do one on wax. Bear with me. I don't know if it's going to be in 2 weeks, a month and a half. Not going to be a year, but I will get that done as soon as I can. I'm waiting on a couple of supplies because I want to do a couple of batches while I'm doing it. Again, I haven't made wax in a while, but I'm going to show you how to make wax, especially with, I know there's another product coming out from another company soon with another wax. I want to give you guys the option to make wax. It's not something I want to gatekeep. It should be there, especially with the amount of problems people have with lamps. The information to make wax should be there. It's not that complicated. Usually, every time I make it, it always takes some tweaking, and that's what I'm going to try to get rid of this time. Is I'm going to try to get my recipe down to science, so I don't need to tweak it once in the lamp. So that way, you guys can follow my exact recipe, and then you're good to go instead of having to modify it every time I do it. And it is a lot cheaper to make a bunch of it because you can buy pounds of paraffin, and the other chemicals involved aren't that expensive either. So I will do how to make wax from scratch very soon. And if you're going to ask me again, you got to get more into coloring. And God, all right. And the next video I'll make, I'll talk about coloring the fluid of lamps. So I know I've been telling you that's so easy, and I know I've been telling you I do it for a while. So next video I'll do one on coloring the fluid once you make clear fluid, and we'll go from there. All right. Don't drink your lamps.